I'm back. Road Rants on the Mandalorian. Today is going to be a different kind of video because I've got to address something out there that I am seeing and it worries me. But first, here come the drums. One of my concerns and trends right now I am noticing in regards to the Mandalorian, and there was a tweet sent out by some lady named Anita, I believe. But Twitter is littered with feminist and social justice warriors pissed because they feel like there's not enough women in the Mandalorian. Okay. And this is concerning. Okay. Not because I have an issue with women. It's because this show is so good. And a lot of them said this show is good, but it's problematic. When you start hearing the word problematic, stick an arrow directly in your bam eye hole. Okay. Triggered, problematic. It's those buzzwords. And I've said there have been changes at going down at Lucasfilm. However, the one entity that I have said in videos before that you need to be worried about is the media, the mainstream media. I believe the mainstream media is the only reason, and these social justice warriors and their agendas, their check boxes, are the reason Kathleen Kennedy is still at Lucasfilm. I think if it was really and truly, I know I've had subs come through and say, no, if Lucasfilm wanted to get rid of her, they would. A woman in power in Hollywood, and you think they're not going to get crucified for that? Sure they are. Now, it's a great sign that the Hollywood Reporter got on board with Favreau, because that's telling you now they're starting to recognize and call out Kathleen Kennedy for failures, and that's a good sign. But I'm concerned that we will not be capable of maintaining a good show, because I don't know that any studio in Hollywood is going to ignore people with these social check boxes. I mean, my God, we've got the great Carl Weathers, who is an African American, in this show. And that's not good enough because he's male. They're going to fuck this show up. They're going to ruin this show, by the way, at some point. And I don't want them to. You guys know this is my show. I think this show is going to be great. But I don't know that because of the way Hollywood is, and you're going to see Twitter, everybody goes to Twitter, the outrage, that, and my concern too is from the other side. We're about to get Gina Carano in some of these episodes, and Min Wang Ming is about to show up in these episodes. And I hope we don't say, well, here's all the women. No, I think they're going to be worked in the story just fine. Okay. But when people literally have gotten on and they get to the 19-minute mark and they go on Twitter and say 19 minutes and I haven't seen a woman speak, that's what you're thinking when you're watching a show this good? I mean, look. I get it. They're total kooks, right? They're nutcases. They're out of their minds because they can't enjoy anything without, in their mind, analyzing it for the appropriate social check boxes. Are you nuts? You're crazy. In other words, you're complete nutbags. I bet these people are miserable in real life because they can't enjoy anything. And by the way, do I think they all believe the shit they're spouting? No, I think they're in a race to win a social war, they feel like, against the guy in office right now, too, by the way. I just don't know that Lucasfilm and or any other, and Lucasfilm's partially responsible because they helped shoehorn this shit with the Force's female crap. You know, shows like Yellowstone flat don't give a shit, right? Kevin Costner's involved in that. He's a producer. He's a conservative, and he's like, the hell with you. And you know what it is? The #1 show on cable. It's a great show. I hope Lucasfilm can stay on target and stay with story. Deborah Chow was fantastic the other day directing episode 3, but not because she's a woman, because she's a great director. You can tell that woman. I've seen a couple of people say, I'm still concerned she ain't got a big enough resume. She's directed like 40 episodes of television. How is that not a big enough resume? We're not talking about Ryan Johnson in 2 episodes of Breaking Bad. But the point is, she was great. Not because she's a she, because she's a great director. They got it right. It's got nothing to do with gender, but they are trying to make it about gender. I saw one that said, no wonder all the Star Wars fans love The Mandalorian because there's no women in it. Fuck you twice. I mean, I'm fired up for Obi-Wan because of what Deborah Chow just gave us. She's a woman, but the woman is not even, that's not part of the conversation. Grace Randolph tried to make it part of the conversation the other day. This woman, Deborah Chow, horseshit. This director, Deborah Chow, did great. I don't know what's happened with Grace either, but she's went just as woke as, she's off the deep end. It started with Rambo, and she just arrowed, bam, right to my eye hole. I watched Grace for a long time. I did. And she's good at what she does when it comes to story, breaking stories. But she has carried such a checkbox agenda in with female power shit the last 6 months. I can't stomach to watch her most of the time. I'm like, why does she keep bringing up this fucking gender shit? Stop it, Grace. But she's not very high on The Mandalorian anyway. So that's something else. But this is a great show. And luckily, the first season's over. They've already shot it. It's in the bag, okay? They're shooting season 2 right now. But it's scary because I'm like, are we not allowed to put story above social checkboxes? Is that where we are? We're just literally not allowed to worry about social checkboxes. I've continued to say nobody would have had a problem with Rey had they just hit some story marks. We would be like Rey like Rey rocks ass. If they would have hit the appropriate hero arc story boxes that we expect in Star Wars, people would love Rey right now. There would be, look how happy everybody is about The Mandalorian. We would be in a code fuchsia right now over The Rise of Skywalker if the appropriate storylines and checkboxes and arcs were followed for Star Wars with Rey. It never had anything to do with her being a woman. Never. I don't feel like keep your hands off this show. Keep your hands off of Obi-Wan. I'm hoping Favreau and Filoni can stay single-minded and to a purpose, and that is quality, great storytelling. Storytelling should rule all as opposed to, and I promise you, Kathleen Kennedy has literally called a meeting at some point about let's talk about social checkboxes. It's a good sign Carrie Hart's gone. Carrie Hart and Chuck Wendig being gone is a big deal. And hopefully it will help some of this stuff out. And the fact that it's a Favreau Filoni run show is a good thing. But if that nutty kooky madooky feminist voice and social justice voice keeps getting louder and louder, I don't know that studios are going to ignore it. In the day and time that we're in, I don't know that they will ignore it. And this show will crash and burn. And Lucasfilm ought to be smart. Look how bad their merchandise sales was. You dropped a Baby Yoda. Look, I bought merchandise for the first time since before The Last Jedi. I bought 2 Mandalorian Funkos. And I'm going to get those Black Series figures. And I'm going to get a Baby Yoda. And his ass is going to creep on my screen out of nowhere, like, and then back out. Don't ruin this show. Lucasfilm, you're heading down a better path. I mean, yeah, The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel trilogy, the Disney trilogy is a wash. But that doesn't mean that your future products have to be. We're here. We have proven the fandom menace is here. If you give us a good product, we'll get behind it. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is still there, and we're still praising The Mandalorian. Why? Because the story is so good, it can't be ignored. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.